As we build to learning how to complete the square, we're going to look at how to solve for squared things. First, let's review the plus or minus symbol. As we see 3 plus or minus 4, that represents two values. 3 minus 4, 3 plus 4. They're like terms, so we do need to add them and subtract them to find out what they equal, which is -1 or 7. On a number line, it's as though we started at 3 and then moved to the left 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to -1. That's one of the values. And started at -3 and moved 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And got the other value, 7. 2 plus or minus the square root of 5. If you get this for a solution, it represents two values, but they're not like terms, so it's okay to leave your answer like this. What is going on is we have 2 minus the square root of 5 and 2 plus the square root of 5. On a number line, that's as though we start at 2 and then go the square root of 5 to the left, which is about 2.23, and the square root of 5 to the right. The blue dots match the values for 2 plus or minus the square root of 5. With 3 plus or minus 2i, those are not like terms, so they are two values. It's okay to leave your answers like this. It represents 3 minus 2i and 3 plus 2i. It's as though we start at 3 on the real number line, over from 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we have to go minus 2i and plus 2i. Well, I is an imaginary number, so we have to leave the real number line and go up to 2i and down to 2i. We'll see answers like that coming up when we solve for squared things. Here's the steps we'll want to follow. Get the squared thing by itself on one side of the equation. Then we'll take the square root of both sides, remembering to use plus or minus. And then solve for the variable and expect two solutions. Unless we get plus or minus 0, then there will only be one solution. So let's start by solving for x. X squared equals 100. The squared thing is just x, and it is by itself on one side. So we can take the square root of both sides, and remember to use plus or minus. X equals plus or minus 10. And it's okay to leave our answers like this. Or if you want to split it up into x equals -10, 10, that's also okay. They both work. When you square -10, you'll get 100, and when you square +10, you get 100. Now, please pause this video while you try example 1. Our next example, solve for m. The quantity m plus 3 squared equals 100. The squared thing is the quantity m plus 3, and it is by itself on one side. So we're ready to take the square root of both sides. Remembering to use plus or minus, we get the quantity m plus 3 equals plus or minus 10. We want to get the variable by itself in step 3. That means we'll have to subtract 3 from both sides. And now on the right-hand side, we have -3 plus or minus 10. Well, that means -3 minus 10 is one of the values and one of the solutions, and -3 plus 10 is the other. They're like terms, so we do have to combine them together. And we'll get the two answers, m equals -13 or 7. You plug in -13 into the original problem for m, you'll get -13 plus 3 is -10, square it, and it's 100. If you plug in 7 for m, 7 plus 3 is +10. Square it, you get 100. Again, we solve equations to find out what is true. Please pause the video and you try example 2. Next, the quantity w minus 6 squared equals 5. The squared thing is the quantity w minus 6, and it is by itself on one side of the equation. So we're ready to take the square root of both sides. We will remember to use plus or minus, and we get the quantity w minus 6 equals plus or minus square root of 5. We've got to get the variable by itself in step 3. We're going to have to add 6 to both sides, and now we get the w equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 5. Those are not like terms. You have one as a radical and one as an integer, so it's okay to leave your answer like that. Or if you want to split it into 6 minus square root of 5, 6 plus square root of 5, that's also okay. Both of what you see outlined are correct answers. They both show two values. Please pause this video And you try example number 3. We've got some work to do on this example for us solving for n. It's the quantity n plus 2 squared, but it's being multiplied by negative 2 to equal 18. The squared thing is not by itself. The squared thing is n plus 2, but it's getting multiplied by negative 2. We're going to have to divide both sides by negative 2 to get the squared thing by itself. Well, now that's been accomplished. The quantity n plus 2 squared equals negative 9. We're ready to take the square root of both sides. The square root of negative 9 is going to involve the imaginary number I. So we get the quantity n plus 2 equals plus or minus 3i. Remember to use plus or minus. We've got to get the variable n by itself in step 3, so we'll subtract 2 from both sides and get that n equals negative 2 plus or minus 3i. It's okay to leave your answer like this, or you can split it into two answers, negative 2 minus 3i, negative 2 plus 3i. That's what's represented by the plus or minus symbol anyway. This is the end of the video. You may want to hit pause to leave this example up. Please try example number 4.